Everybody, so I'm away today. Yesterday we had a look at the first part of Dulce et Decorum Est. Today I'm going to annotate the second half, and you can annotate with me. So this is the last little lines at the top here that we looked at yesterday. In my helpless sight, he plunges at me, guttering, choking, drowning. So this is where the poem changed pronoun, and it also changed tense. Okay, which is why we decided that those two little lines were together in order to show the change from what had gone before and that quiet, calm, haunting sort of part of the poem to now being pulled into the present. So if in some smothering dream you too could pace, okay, so here he's addressing the audience. Now remember I told you that the audience in this instance was Jesse Pope, so he was writing to propagandist Jesse Pope. It could also be addressed to us because remember he wrote a lot of his poems for boys back at home. He was trying to show people what the lie that propaganda sold was. So we can read it in those two ways. Now, in some smothering dreams, okay, so this nightmarish place he's now sort of projecting onto his audience. So what he's been through, he's trying to say, if you too could pace, if you could understand, behind the wagon that we flung him in. Now remember that this boy has been gassed, so they now have to carry this boy who's guttering, choking and drowning in a wagon. Now the word flung is a verb which kind of shows, you know, the panic or the quick sort of repeated, the rapid way in which they had to get him out of sort of that scenario, away from the gas. They didn't have time to be honourable or anything about this. They just had to chuck him in a wagon to get him all out of there. Okay, this is what boys had to do with their friends. And watch the white eyes writhing in his face. Okay, so we're getting this idea of pain coming through. Alright, and remember we said before he's a witness poet. So all the way through this we've got words like watch, poet, I saw him. Okay, so all of that sort of stuff throughout. White eyes writhing, so we've got that watch, we've got that alliteration running through it. But the alliteration really comes out here. His hanging face, and it's not just alliteration, it's something else which I'll explain in a minute. His hanging face like a devil's sick of sin. Now there's a few things going on here. We have a simile, okay, we've got this sort of allusion again, or this reference back to the devil, back to the hellish sort of place that he's in. But you also notice when I read it, his hanging face like a devil's sick of sin. Alright, we've got the constant S, or the repetition of the S sound, which we call sibilance. Okay, so it's kind of like alliteration or even consonants, but it's more the S sound that gets constantly repeated. And the reason it gets repeated here is because it sounds like the hissing sound of the gas shells. Okay, it's that hiss, that very sort of sinister sound that we get throughout, and earlier we got it, remember at the beginning I was talking about consonants. It's the same sort of thing. He's playing on sound here in order to really put us in this position, to show us what it's like for these boys. If you could hear, now the if is kind of speculative language, because really he's asking us to speculate on what this place is like. We're never really going to be able to understand what he's feeling because we can't be there, but this is the closest we can get, is through the language that he's using. So if you could hear, he's trying his best to show us what it's like. At every jolt, the blood come gargling from the froth corrupting. So we're getting all these bodily sort of images coming up, but it's all about the corruption of the body here. Okay, so froth corrupted, meaning that horrific sort of drowning that this boy is going through. If you could hear at every jolt, alright, he's using sensory imagery. Alright, which is to see, to hear, to feel, or to touch, to taste, and to smell. That's what I'm missing. Okay, those are our 5 senses, and he plays on those senses all the way through here. Okay, gargling, this is the sounds that we're getting. Green as cancer, bitter as the cup being eaten away. By referencing cancer here, referencing death, alright? This boy is being eaten away. It is bitter as cud. If you know what cud is, it's literally something that cows chew, and it's something which is quite bitter if you taste it. So he's referencing here the eating or the chewing away of a body, as if cancer were taking that body, alright, from the inside out through this gas attack. Of vile, incurable sores on innocent tongues. Okay, now that can be taken 2 ways, literally or metaphorically. Now, if you read it the literal way, it's quite literally boys whose bodies are sort of becoming pustulated through the use of this gas, or that, you know, sores are building up within their bodies because of what, you know, the effects of the gas. You can also read it metaphorically, because in it we've got the idea of innocent tongues. Vile, incurable sores could be the propaganda, the stuff that the boys have swallowed, or the sort of the ideas and the propaganda messages that the boys have swallowed, and which they probably have regurgitated at some point thinking that they're being courageous. However, it's now become an incurable sore on their innocent tongues. Alright, and then he's breaking it up with a dash here. So he's giving us now a change to my friend. Now I read this as slight sarcasm. Alright, my friend, you would not tell with such high zest, because obviously he didn't think of Jesse Pope as being a friend. Now zest means kind of energy. You would not tell with such high emotion and such high happiness to children ardent for some desperate glory, the old lie. Now the children in this instance are the boys who have gone off to war. Okay, and we've got that tie here between children, and innocence. Alright, these poor young innocent kids who are going off to war because they're told that it's going to be glorious, okay? And they're hungry or ardent, you know, their hunger. He says here it is a desperate glory. Alright, it's not truly what they tell them it's going to be. Then we have the old lie, capitalized, because it's obviously been used throughout the centuries. And if you remember what I said, Dulce et decorum est means it is sweet and honourable to die for one's country. Alright, now that is from the poetry of Horace, who was a Roman. And the reason that Wilfred Owen is bringing it up here is because he's using it ironically. Now Horace literally used this in his poems back in Roman times to get boys in Roman times to go out and fight. Dulce et decorum est per patria mori, it is sweet and honourable to die for your country, for your people. Owen here is using it really ironically because he's saying it is a lie. Okay, and it's something that for thousands of years, since the Romans and before, has been the same lie that has been told to every boy in every war. So it was also, this Dulce et decorum est was also used in a lot of propaganda at the beginning of World War I. He's taken it and made it ironic and using it for his own purposes. Okay, so the way we read this poem as a whole is through the fragmentation of the different stanzas. I want you to annotate it just like I have here, and then I'm expecting to be able to talk to you when I come back in class, and for you to be able to answer some of those questions in the yellow booklet and tell me what you found. Okay, bye.